ready to go, darling? You ready for your big debut? She's ready. Hello, hello. Welcome aboard. How are we all doing today? Just give it a few minutes as usual. Let a few more people come along. Callum Williams, opinion on general election results? Straight in there with the hard-hitting questions, Callum. Thanks very much. I mean, it was kind of expected, wasn't it? I think we all kind of knew that it was going to be a Labour victory. I didn't vote for Labour myself, and you know, in an ideal world, it wouldn't have been either of the two major parties. But at least it's not the Tories again. You know, I can say that I'm at least relieved about that. But yeah, I think we kind of all saw the Labour majority coming, right? We all saw the landslide from months away. How do you say your name? My name's Saul. Rhymes with Paul. Okay, so it's going to be a good stream today. It's going to be an exciting stream today. I'm not going to rush into it because I know there's a few people who have specifically been waiting for this stream, so I want to give a few more people a chance to join before we get into it. But as you can probably tell by the title of the stream, my new jumping spider has arrived. It got here just this morning. I've been so eager to finally be able to show it to you. I've been waiting a long time to be able to get a new spider because it's been quite a while since I last kept them. But I bought one. It arrived today. I'm going to be unboxing it for you here on stream today. I've got all the stuff here, all the equipment, the enclosure and everything like that, which we're going to be putting together. So yeah, it's very exciting stuff. Like I say, it's been over a year since I last had a jumping spider, so I'm very excited to get back into the hobby. How much was it? Asked Smithy. All in all, this box here, which has got all the equipment in it, cost £60. That's including the spider itself. The spider was like £20. And then on top of that, you know, there's the enclosure, there's decorations, there's mealworms to feed it. So absolutely everything that we need to get set up with our new jumper. Trans question mark asks Lena. Yes, I am trans. Did you vote? Yes, I did. I went out and voted yesterday in the general election. I won't be telling you who for. Suffice to say, it wasn't the Conservatives, for obvious reasons. It also wasn't Labour, but that's all I'll say. But anyway, so yeah, the whole point of today's stream is that I'm going to be showing you my new jumping spider. I'm going to be unboxing the enclosure and putting it together, and then we'll get the spider actually in there. I've already got the spider out because I didn't want to leave her cooped up in the box all day while I was waiting for us to get started. So I've got her right here. There she is. She's just at the top there, you can see. I've put her in an old GeoCraper box. If you remember, I've done a couple of GeoCraper. I did some GeoCraper on live stream not too long ago. This box is like the perfect size to keep a jumping spider in temporarily. Because it's quite a large species of jumping spider, it's not ideal for a permanent enclosure. But if you want to keep smaller species, or if you want to keep like younger ones, then this would be an ideal. You know, it'd make a perfect enclosure for a smaller jumping spider. Now, first things first, I do want to make it quite clear that this jumping spider here is my pet. So if you're going to leave comments saying, oh, I'll trample on it, or you should kill it, or you should squash it, you're going to get blocked. I am asking my moderators to mute and block any negative comments about the spider. Whatever your personal feelings about spiders are, this is my pet, and if you're going to be mean about it and tell me to kill it, then you're going to get muted. Okay? So let's just get that out of the way before we say anything else. But here she is. You will get to see her closer up later on when we actually get her into the new enclosure, but you can see her quite clearly there, enjoying herself. She's just chilling. She's doing all right. So I'll tell you a little bit more about the spider, obviously, before we get her out. This is a Phidippus ardens, sometimes called the widow jumping spider, because they have sort of similar kind of markings to the infamous black widow. They're not related in any way. They just have a similar sort of colouring. You can't really see right now, but when we get her out, you will see. She's just dashed off. When we get her out, you will see that the abdomen is sort of a dark red with a black stripe across, and that's sort of the signature of this species. And there's a few related species that are quite common in North America, especially along the west coast, that have sort of similar patterns. Did she run away? She ran away a little bit. She ran round to the other corner of the box. But yeah, like I say, with this species and with other similar species, the abdomen is like usually a bright red color. With hers, it's more of a dull red. I don't know if it'll get brighter as she grows, as she molts. But at the minute it's quite a dull red, but you can quite clearly see the dark red with the black stripe down the middle, which again is the signature like identifier of this species and of similar species. So let me just turn the enclosure around again so you can see her. There we go. There she is. Once again, you'll get to see her properly up close once we've got the enclosure set up and we get her out of there. How long do they last? Asks Mr. Reese. So most jumping spider species can live for between 1 to 3 years. I don't know exactly how old she is already, but she's not quite reached adulthood yet. So it could be a year, it could be 18 months. You know, it's they're not incredibly long-lived pets, but they're also not very expensive pets. So it's you know, it's the kind of pet that you can quite easily replace. Obviously, that's not to say that you won't be upset when you eventually lose it, but it is very much a pet that you know it's not going to be there forever. You know it's only going to get a couple of years at best. But yeah, there she is. As I say, we've got the whole kit here to go with it, which we're going to unbox. We got the enclosure, all the decorations, the substrate, and some mealworms to feed. Tom O'Connor asks, what does it eat? Yeah, so these mostly eat crickets and like fly casters, but I usually feed mine mealworms for the simple reason that mealworms are, you know, you don't really have to give them any additional needs. With things like crickets and flies, you have to actually grow the crickets and flies to feed, which is, you know, like it's a lot of work to put in, whereas with mealworms they just kind of sit there in a box. You don't have to do anything with mealworms. So yeah, I prefer to use mealworms, especially for jumping spiders. They don't need anything particularly big. It's recommended that you feed them something that's about the size of their abdomen, and obviously because they're very small spiders, they don't really need anything too big to eat. A mealworm thrown in there every couple of days is going to be more than enough food to keep her going. But yeah, so what we'll do is we'll give it a burger. No, I won't be feeding her burgers. No. So we're going to look in the box. We're going to see what we got in here, and we'll set up the enclosure. And once that's done, we'll get the actual spider in, and yeah, that's the plan for today. I'm going to move her out of the way just for now, so you can see me a little bit better. But she will be back. Where's she gone? There she is. Okay. So, here's the box. This is from the Spider Shop in Wales. Great place to get jumping spiders and tarantulas. They specialise in tarantulas, but they've got all sorts of other spiders and other insects. You know, isopods, mantises, beetles. They've got quite a lot of stuff. Highly recommend them. It's where they're where I've bought my previous jumping spiders from. Here's their logo. Yeah, if you want to get spiders in the UK, the Spider Shop, highly recommend. It's literally just called the Spider Shop. The website is spidershop.co.uk. And as I say, they've got a big selection. They mostly specialise in tarantulas, but they have other kinds of spiders and other kinds of insect as well. But you can see here, what I've bought is the Jumping Spider Starter Kit. You can't actually read that because the image is flipped, but this is what is basically in this box. We got the enclosure itself, plus all the decorations that you can see in there, and the substrate, the soil to put in the bottom. All of that is right here in this box. And on the other side, there's a wonderful selection of jumping spiders here, just a few examples of the kind of spiders that you can keep in this sized enclosure. I've actually kept this guy here before, the Hylas diardi, the eyelash spider, so called because they have like really huge eyelashes. And I've also kept P. regius, which is these guys at the top. But yeah, all these kind of jumping spiders, this enclosure is perfect for them. Jumping spiders in general, because they're quite small, they don't require a ton of space. But obviously, you don't want to put them in anything too restrictive either. Like I was saying earlier, this little box here that I've used as a temporary enclosure, it's not a bad size for a smaller species, but this one here is one of the larger species of jumping spider. So ideally, a slightly larger enclosure is more ideal, and that's exactly what we've got in the box today. So, what's in the box is an acrylic arboreal enclosure. I'm just reading off the checklist here of what should be in there. So there's the enclosure itself. There's two micro plants. I believe they're just plastic plants. There's a spider nest hide. I'm not sure what that is. I think it's like a little hammock kind of thing, which is quite cute. There's an arboreal feeding ledge. That's like a food bowl. There's decor. That's like branches and twigs and stuff. There's the substrate itself. That's the soil along the bottom. And there's a spray bottle for giving them water. I'll talk more about like the maintenance and how you look after them as we put it together and explain, you know, what kind of requirements they need to keep them, what kind of conditions you need to keep them in. But they are exceptionally easy pets to look after. Not all species. There are some jumping spiders that are trickier to maintain than others, but in most cases they're very, very easy pets to look after. So, let's see what's in the actual box. There's a load of packing peanuts, obviously, for a start. There's quite a lot of mealworm dust, because it gets everywhere. Here's the mealworms themselves. You can see there, they're very much alive. So this is what they're going to be eating. And mealworms, as I say, mealworms themselves are quite low maintenance. If you like chuck a little bit of food in there for the mealworms to eat, just like an apple core or a banana or whatever, you sling some of them in there, the mealworms eat it, and then you feed the mealworms to the spider. They're very low maintenance when compared to like crickets or flies, which are the more common live foods for jumping spiders. But you know, anyone who's kept any kind of lizard or spider or anything like that before, you'll know how popular mealworms are as a live food, because they're very easy to maintain. But they turn into beetles. They do eventually turn into beetles, yes. But there's not very many in this tub, so they'll probably all be eaten before that happens. And obviously, once they do start to turn, you throw them out and you buy some more. It's very important that you do not put them in, you don't feed them to the spider once they've become beetles, because they can attack and kill the spider. So once they start transforming into beetles, get rid of them. But yeah, there's the mealworms. That is what they are going to eat. That's what she's going to eat once we've got the enclosure set up. We've also got here a spray bottle. Once again, it's covered in mealworm dust. I apologise for that. So, in terms of water, all you have to do to give your spiders water is spray the inside of the enclosure. So this here is just a standard spray bottle. Pretty self-explanatory. You fill that with water and you spray the inside wall of the enclosure every few days. That keeps the humidity up because they like a nice humid environment, and it also gives them something to drink. You shouldn't give spiders an actual bowl of water because they will drown in it. If they fall in that, they will drown. To give them water, like I say, you just spray the inside of the enclosure and they'll actually drink the droplets off the side of the tank. And that's how you make sure that your spiders are properly watered. Is that why I find loads of spiders in my bathroom? Because it's humid? Yes, it is. They are attracted to more humid places. Some spiders more so than others. But jumping spiders, especially this species of jumping spider, is native to the Americas, so it's used to quite a humid climate. We have a fair bit of humidity here in the UK during the summer, but in the colder months, it's very important to make sure that your jumping spiders are still getting the heat and humidity that they need. At this time of year, there's really not too much to worry about because, again, the conditions here in the UK right now, it's quite warm, it's quite humid. So we don't have to worry too much, but yeah, just making sure that they get a little bit of spray every, once or twice a week. That'll give them the conditions that they need. Show the jumping spider. I can certainly show you. Here she is. Wait, where is she? She's there. Look. There we go. You'll get to see her up close later on once we get her out of there and into her proper enclosure. But there she is right now, just chilling up in the top corner of this little container that we got her in. And she actually came in this. So just to explain, when you buy jumping spiders from the spider shop, and most spider sellers, they'll come in very small tubes like this one. So she was in here this morning. I took her out, obviously. I didn't want to keep her in there all day until the stream started because it can be uncomfortable. It can be quite stressful for them. So I wanted to get her out straight away and get her into a slightly larger enclosure. But yeah, when you first buy your jumping spider, it will come in a very small tube like this, filled with toilet roll. And then it will just be, the actual spider will be tucked away inside the toilet roll there. And of course, as I say, as soon as I got her, I transferred her to this slightly larger container just to make her a little bit more comfortable. And then later on today, we'll be transferring her to the proper enclosure. Can they breathe in the tub? Yes, they can. The tub has some very small holes in the top. Again, it's not a great environment for them. It's not very comfortable. So it's recommended that, as soon as the spiders get delivered, you take them out straight away. But they can survive in there for, they can survive in there for the length of a delivery, right? So again, the spider shop delivers to, most of the United Kingdom. I think maybe like some of the more distant islands might not be served by them, but most, everywhere on the mainland of the UK they'll deliver to, and they aim to deliver like within 24 hours, like express delivery, so that the spider spends as little time as possible in transit. How much for one jumping spider can I buy on TikTok? it entirely depends on the species. So this spider right here, the Phidippus regius, she cost me £18. Some species can be more. I think I spent 25 on my Hylas diardi, which was the last jumping spider I kept, but they're a little bit bigger. This is one of the larger species, so it's one of the more expensive. Most jumping spiders are a lot smaller even than this, so you shouldn't expect to pay more than around 20 quidish. Obviously, the more expensive spiders are your bigger spiders. That's when you start to get towards like tarantula territory. But jumping spiders, generally speaking, they're fairly cheap. What's their lifespan? So most jumping spider species live for between 1 and 3 years. So they're not the most long-lived, but it's a decent lifespan. Obviously, I don't know exactly how old this one is, but it's subadult. So it hasn't quite reached its maximum size yet. It probably won't grow much bigger, but you know she's got a few molts left in her. And once they've reached full maturity, they can live for maybe about a year or so beyond that. So yeah, if you're really lucky, you might get 2 or even 3 years out of it. But generally speaking, a year, 18 months is sort of the expected lifespan for them. Do they jump? Asked Samuel. Yes, they do. So in actual fact, all spiders are capable of jumping. They're just not very good at it. So jumping spiders are called jumping spiders because they are naturally very good jumpers. They can jump quite far. Some species can jump like 10 or 15 times their own body length, so they can do some pretty big leaps. And yeah, hopefully you'll get to see her doing some jumping once we get her into the enclosure later. But back to the box. So we've got out our mealworms and we got out our spray. I believe all that's left beneath all these packing peanuts is the actual enclosure kit. I need somewhere to put all these packing peanuts though, because they are, again, covered in mealworm dust. Didn't really want to throw them on the bed because now my bedding's going to need cleaning. But I need it out of the way, so there it all goes. Put them in water, they dissolve. Do they really? I didn't know that. I mean, I can't put them in water right now, but if that's a good way to get rid of them, then yeah, I'll try it. Spiders scare me so bad. I used to be the same. Honestly, I used to be terrified of spiders, but at the same time, I've also been very interested in them. I think they're really fascinating creatures. So I sort of forced myself to expose myself to them a bit more, learn more about them, and then obviously actually keeping them has really helped me to overcome that fear. So I'm not 100% sold on spiders. There are a few that I'm not the most accepting of. In particular, cellar spiders or daddy longleg spiders, whatever you want to call them, Pholcus phalangioides, a very common house spider here in the UK. I really don't like them. They really creep me out. But for the most part, I am a lot better with spiders now than I have been in the past. And a huge part of that is by learning more about them and by actually keeping them as well. Would you ever keep a tarantula? I would eventually. I would very much like to build towards keeping a tarantula. Again, I think they're really fascinating. I watch a lot of spider content on YouTube. I follow a lot of tarantula keepers. I think they are really genuinely fascinating animals. But I'm not ready to keep one myself yet. But like I say, I'm sort of building towards it. Maybe one day it would be something that I'd like to do. But at the moment, I'm starting small, obviously, with the jumper. Can we see the spider? Yes, you can. Here she is again. There she is. And we will be getting her out into a new enclosure as soon as we've put it together. There she is. Okay, so the packing peanuts are all out. Here is the actual starter kit. There it is. Hold on, let me dust off the mealworm dust. Delightful. All over my bed. I said I didn't want it all over my bed. A bit late for that. There we go. Sorry. Just getting all the dust out of the way there. What's the spider's name? I haven't named her yet. I'm still thinking on a name. Obviously, spiders, you know, they don't have hearing and they're unable to recognize names. So unlike other pets, you don't really have to name them. But obviously I want to. I just haven't come up with a name for it just yet. Okay, so this is... Sorry, I started opening it without showing you it first. This is the actual starter kit. Just put her to one side. This is the actual jumping spider kit. It's got the enclosure and all the other bits and pieces in it. So we're going to open that up now and put the actual enclosure together. I've got mealworm dust literally everywhere. It's all over my chair, it's all over my dress, it's all over my desk. I knew it had happened. Is the spider in the box? Nope, the spider is right here. She's not in the box. Genuinely wondering, how do they check a spider's gender? So a spider's sex, they have quite high sexual dimorphism in most species, so it's fairly easy to tell the differences. For example, with Phidippus ardens, the main difference is the abdomen. Males have a solid red abdomen, whereas females have a black stripe across the middle. And she does have a black stripe across the middle, so therefore it's quite likely that she's a female. Okay, so let's open up the kit. Why does that one jump? Is it a defense mechanism? So they have a few reasons for jumping. They are actually an arboreal species. So spiders come in like 3 categories, if you like. There's territorial spiders, spiders that live on the ground. There's burrowing spiders, spiders that live underground and like dig burrows. And there's arboreal spiders, which are spiders that live in trees. And most jumping spiders are arboreal, so they live in trees, they are climbers, they do a lot of climbing. The reason that they are able to jump is so that they can get from branch to branch, and they also jump to catch their prey as well. Like I say, most jumping spiders are arboreal. Some tarantulas are also arboreal, but most of them tend to be terrestrial. But yeah, as I say, jumping spiders are very much climbers. They need to be in enclosures that are quite tall and thin, as opposed to other types of spiders which typically live in like wider, shorter tanks. They need a lot of height because they really love to climb. And as you can see here, right now she is way up at the top of this quite tall enclosure there. And they will climb. They will spend most of their time right up at the top because they just love climbing. They like to be up high. So anyway, let's get into the box and have a look what we've got here. We've got some air, some nice packed air there. Here we've got the cocoa fibre, which I'll come back to in a minute. This is the substrate. That's going to go in the bottom of the enclosure, the soil, as it were. Do not put actual soil in there because it's got all kinds of bacteria and you know, whatever else in there. You have to sort of try and keep the environment as sterile as possible. So this is like dried cocoa fibre, as in like, you know, what's shaved off the side of coconuts, basically. You just hydrate that with some water to make a sort of soil kind of texture. and that goes in the bottom of the enclosure. Then we've got that thing. Not quite sure what that is. That's an interesting... I mean, this is obviously just a piece of decoration, but it's quite an unusual shape. We'll put that to one side. And we've also got a little twig there. And here we've got quite I think like a piece of petrified wood or something. It's got an interesting texture on the outside. These are, again, they're basically just places for the spider to climb. So they are big climbers. You need to give them lots of branches, lots of things to climb on, not just the tank itself. So that's what all those pieces there are for. Oh, and one more. That's a more traditional looking twig with lots of knots on it. So that will be going in the tank as well. Then we've got a couple of fake leaves here. These leaves are plastic, and they've got suction cups to stick them onto the sides of the tank. So we got one here with 2 leaves on, and we got another one here with a different 2 leaves on. And again, stick these on the side of the tank so they've got something to jump on, they've got something to climb on. Will there be any real foliage too? So again, it's recommended not to put real foliage in the tank for the same reason that you shouldn't put real soil in there. It can have bacteria on it. You know, if you properly sterilize it, it's quite hard to sterilize leaves because you can't really bake them. You can bake twigs to sterilize them, but if you bake leaves, they just burn. But if you can sterilize leaves, then yeah, you can put real leaves in there. But yeah, just for the reason that it can introduce bacteria into the enclosure, you should avoid putting real plants in there. But those are the leaves. This, I believe, is the hammock that it mentioned, the spider nest hide. So it looks a little bit like a hollowed out quail egg, like a very small egg that's hollowed out inside. And I think the idea is that she'll potentially live in there. She might not. In fact, you know, if I know jumping spiders, she probably won't bother going in there at all. But we'll put it in there anyway and see if she has any interest in using it. And I believe that's a magnet on top, so it will magnetize to the... Yeah, that's it. You can't see it very well because it's very tiny, but there's a tiny little magnet there, and then the other one's inside. Oh, there we go. So we can magnetize that to the top of the tank. Male or female, says Alice. I am 90% sure that it's a female because, again, it's got the black stripe across the abdomen. Obviously, it's not a full adult, so whether that pattern remains over the next few months, I don't know. But I'm fairly confident it's most likely female. Again, you can't see the markings very well from here because they're quite dull. Normally with Phidippus ardens and with similar jumping spiders, the abdomens are very, very bright red. With hers, it's very, very dull. Like, you can see that it's red, but it's a very dull red. Whether that will brighten over the next few molts or whether she'll stay as dull as that, I don't know. But either way, you know, like I say, the red is there. The red is noticeable. Matthew says, at least the spider knows its gender. Spiders have no concept of gender. Because gender is different from sex. But that's not what we're talking about right now. Let's keep all the trans-related questions until later on in the stream, shall we? Last but not least, we have the feeding bowl. Once again, this is a little, tiny little bowl there for putting food in, not water. Do not put water in a bowl like this. Again, jumping spiders are very small. If they fall in a little bowl of water like this, they will drown. This is not for water, this is for food. So you put a mealworm in there and they'll eat it. The reason that they need a dish like this for food is because if you put like a mealworm straight into the enclosure, it will burrow into the substrate. and that's a very dangerous thing because, again, mealworms eventually hatch into beetles, and those beetles can kill jumping spiders. So if you try and feed it a mealworm and it burrows into the substrate and you forget about it, then it could come back a few months later as a beetle and kill your spider. So for that reason, you put the food in this bowl so that it can't escape and burrow like that. But that's the feeding bowl. There's also a very small ledge here to put the bowl in, like so. But we could also put the bowl in the substrate or find somewhere else to sort of balance it. I don't know how we'll do it exactly. But again, if we do want to stick it onto the side of the tank, there's a little ledge there with a sucker that we can do that with. Can we see the spider again, says Scott? Yes, you can, Scott. There she is. She's just wandering around again. Oh, she's looking. She's looking. You can't see very well. The focus on this camera isn't great, but she did actually just look at the camera there. She knows she's being watched. So yeah, jumping spiders. She doesn't actually know she's being watched, obviously. Let me just preface that by saying this. But jumping spiders are quite intelligent. Not intelligent enough to understand the internet, but they are fairly intelligent among spiders and among arachnids in general. There is actually some research that suggests they are capable of recognizing human faces, which is astonishing. Like the idea that this spider could actually remember what I look like, and when I come into the room, she could look at me and say, "Oh, I know you. I've seen you before." That is crazy to imagine that level of intelligence in such a small animal. But it is really quite astonishing how intelligent they are. They're very curious. They love to explore. They will watch you. So just like you will, watch her making a nest and moving about her enclosure, she'll watch you as well while you're going about your day-to-day business. She'll sit there and stare at you because she's just as interested in you as you are in her. They are incredibly curious creatures. They're very they're often compared to dogs. Believe it or not, people often say that jumping spiders are like the dogs of the spider world, and I think that's probably a very accurate description. They actually, believe it or not, share quite a lot of behavior with dogs. For example, they cock their heads a lot like dogs. You know when a dog looks at you and it goes. Jumping spiders do that. they do that a lot. They do a lot of cocking their head. They also scratch themselves like dogs. You know how dogs and cats use their back legs to scratch themselves? Jumping spiders do that as well, which is really cute. Like they genuinely have quite a lot of behaviors in common with dogs, surprisingly. There she is again. What do they eat? So just like any spider, they can eat all manner of insects. Typically, it's recommended to feed them crickets or flies, but I'm just going to be feeding this one mealworms because mealworms are a little bit easier to keep. And again, they can realistically eat anything. It does have to be alive. They can only eat live food. If you give them something dead, they'll just ignore it. And it should be something that's about the same size as their abdomen. So the abdomen is their backside, basically, the back part of the body. You should feed them something that's roughly that size. That's like the recommended size for a meal for them. And you should feed them ideally like 2 or 3 times a week, like every 2 or 3 days. And the same goes for watering. Do you hold it? I won't be holding her for a few days yet because she will be quite stressed out. Again, she has just come all the way from Wales in a tiny little tube like this, so she will be quite stressed out. When you get a new spider, it's recommended that you don't actually handle them for a few days. You get them in the new enclosure and give them a couple of nights to get used to it, and then that they'll be less stressed out, and then you can start to potentially handle them. But they do genuinely get stressed out. If they feel too stressed, they won't eat. And obviously, if they don't eat, they'll die. So you do want to try and avoid putting them in stressful situations like that. So I won't be actually handling her in today's stream. I won't actually be handling her at all for at least a few days until she's comfortable with her new habitat. May I ask what your pronouns are so I don't offend you? Thanks for asking. My pronouns are she and her. Okay, let's get back to the actual kit because we've got just one more thing in here, and that's the enclosure itself. So this is a flat pack kit. We're going to actually have to put it together, but it's going to be fairly easy. There's no glue. It's all held together by elastic bands. That sounds very structurally unsound, but believe me, it's not. You'll see when we actually get to putting it together. But that's the actual kit. Will it eventually molt? I know they sometimes change skins like snakes. Yes. Yep. So this is a sub-adult. It's not fully grown, so she will molt a few times before she grows to full size. Spiders, again, as they get bigger, they shed their exoskeleton and grow a new one. This usually takes a few days. They'll stop eating, they'll sort of curl up and shed their old exoskeleton, and then they'll emerge fresh with a new one, and that's how they grow. And they'll keep doing that until they reach adulthood. This one here is a sub-adult, so it's not quite adulthood. She'll probably molt maybe 3 or 4 more times before she's fully grown. Could it harm us if bit? No. They're pretty much harmless. Obviously, they're not designed to prey on humans, so any bite that they did wouldn't be serious enough to do any harm to a human. And they won't bite anyway. They're very non-confrontational. A lot of spiders in general they're very much, if they can get away, they'll get away. Like they'll only bite as an absolute last resort. And considering that this spider can jump as well, it's very unlikely that you'd actually get into a situation where it would need to bite you to get away, right? So no, it won't bite you. But there she is. We'll just pop her out to one side there so that you can see what I'm doing. How do you know so much about spiders? Do you study them specifically? I wouldn't say study, because study implies like academically, academic study. I'm interested in spiders, and I like to read about them and learn stuff about them, because I just think they're really fascinating creatures. I wouldn't call myself a spider expert by any stretch of the imagination, but again, they're just something that I think are really cool, really misunderstood, really fascinating animals. So yeah, I like to learn as much as I can about them. Your map of Japan is upside down, says Harry. My map of Japan is the right way up, but it is backwards because my camera's flipped. As you can see here, the text on this box is mirrored because I always flip my front camera. So yeah, the flag's not upside down, it's just back to front from this camera angle. How high does it jump, asks Janie. So it really depends. Some jumping spiders can jump like several times their own body length. I would say maybe about this far for a spider of her size, which is quite impressive. I wonder if the red on the spider is dull due to stress travelling. I don't think so, because the spider shop, they package the spider at the very last possible moment. So she would have been packaged and put straight out for delivery. So it wouldn't have been enough time for her to show any physical changes. So yeah, don't panic about that. It's just something that happens. Obviously, no two spiders are completely identical. They are usually bright red, but some of them are more orangey. Some of them are even more on the yellow side, and some of them are quite a dull red. Again, like her. She does have the red on her, but it's a very, very dark red. And again, I think that's just the colour that she is. She's just not quite as bright and vibrant as your typical P. ardens would be. How long do they usually live for? These guys here, and most jumping spiders, live for between 1 to 3 years. Once she reaches adulthood, which will be in a few molts time, about a year after that. So not the most long-lived of animals, but once you move on to larger spiders, they do live for longer. If you ever want to keep tarantulas can live for like 10, 15 years. They are very long-lived among spiders. But these guys, they're a couple of years at most. How big will she be once fully grown? Not much bigger than this, to be honest. So the maximum size of P. ardens, which is the species that she is probably about the size of my thumb, and she's already quite close to that size. So, like I say, she'll probably molt 2 or 3 more times and get a little bit bigger each time. But don't expect her to get massive. That's pretty much as big as she's gonna get. She'll get a little bit bigger over the next couple of molts, but that is about the size that she'll stay. There we go. Okay, so we're going to start putting together the tank now, because obviously I don't want to keep her in there for too much longer. I want to get her into... She's looking at me. Hello. Hello. Oh, she was staring right at me then. So yeah, we're going to get the enclosure built because we don't want to keep her in there forever, and then we'll do the substrate and we'll put it all together and then we'll get her in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my camera down to the lower shelf and adjust my chair. There we go. So that I've got the desk in front of me so that you can actually see me doing the building. And we'll bring her down again. There she is. I think Luna would be a good name. It sounds not so scary, lol. I like that. I like Luna. That's quite a nice name, yeah. Like I say, I haven't decided on a name yet, but if you want to leave name suggestions, then please feel free. How does it not freak you out? Because I've do stuff like this, right? Like there was a time when this would have freaked me out. When I got my first jumping spider, I didn't even go anywhere near it. But because I've kept them before and because I've gotten more used to them, I feel more comfortable doing stuff like this. It is very much one of those things where exposure therapy is the best way to cure it, right? If you have a fear of spiders, at the end of the day, the best thing you can do is kind of force yourself to interact with them until the fear starts to dissipate. Which is what I've done, and it's why I'm so much less afraid of spiders now than I used to be. Where is the spider? The spider's in here. Where is she right now? She's there, look. Like I say, she'll mostly stay on the top. Occasionally she'll jump down to the bottom, but she will mostly stay on the top of the enclosure as she is right there. I want to keep the whole thing in shot so you can... there we go. If I put her there, then you can always see her. You can see her, she's just there right now. There we go. Okay, so here's the kit. Here's the actual enclosure kit. I believe they recommend that you do the substrate whilst you're assembling. So what we need to do here is add 300 mils of water to this cocoa fiber block. And again, it'll soak all that in and it will make it into soil kind of texture. And that's what's going to be along the bottom of the enclosure. So we'll probably do that first, put some water in that and leave that to soak whilst we put together the actual kit. So it just so happens I've got a mug here. It's a gay mug, obviously, that holds about 300 mils of water. So I'm just going to fill that up, pour it on top of this, and then leave it to soak for a bit. And that will give us our substrate. So I'm going to just nip to the bathroom and fill this up with water. I'll leave my co-host here to keep an eye on you for just a moment. I will try and be as quick as I can. I'll be right back. There we go. Did she keep you busy? Okay, so we got a mug full of water here and a jug here to actually mix it up in. So I'm just going to put her to one side just for a second. We're going to put the cocoa fibre block in the jug and then tip the water on and leave it to soak. There we go. So that's soaking in there in the water now. Have I got any toilet roll? 1 second. Okay, so I don't know if we need to like mush this up a little bit or if we just leave it. I'm going to leave it for now, and then if it doesn't start to break down, I'll mush it up a bit with my hands. But we'll put that to one side while we build the actual enclosure. Can you use any water, or does it have to be cooked or boiled water? It can just be water straight from the tap. Same for spraying, for feeding, for giving them water to drink. It can just be water straight from the tap. That's not a problem. You leave it for about 20 minutes, then break it up a little. Thanks very much, Young, for the advice. So we'll leave that till about 4:10, about 20 minutes from now, and then we'll mush it up, and then it should be ready to go. Can I see the spider, please? Asks Libby. Yes, we can. Here she is. What spider is it? This is a Phidippus ardens. One of the larger jumping spiders. It's quite closely related to Phidippus johnsoni, the redback jumping spider, which is one of the most common jumping spiders in North America, especially along the west coast. So if you've ever been to America or lived in America, you'll have seen like similar jumping spiders to this. They are very common over there. Is it poisonous? Absolutely not. She is completely harmless. You know, they will not bite unless there is literally no other option, which is very, very unlikely to happen. Spiders are huge in America. Yeah, some spiders are huge, yes, but obviously there are still small spiders like this one here. Is that your pet? Yes, this is my new pet. She arrived just today. She's the first jumping spider I've had in over a year. It's been quite a while since I last kept jumping spiders, so I'm really excited to have her here with me. And like I say, we'll get her in the enclosure as soon as we possibly can. We're going to start putting the actual full enclosure together right now. Baby? Nope, it's not a baby. I don't know if you were calling me baby or the spider. The spider is not a baby, though. It's not a juvenile. It's a subadult, so it's the equivalent of a teenager. So not quite fully grown, but doesn't have a massive amount of growing left to do. Okay, let's open the kit because we've kept talking long enough. So here it is. Again, it's a complete flat pack kit. But it shouldn't take us too long to knock together. When's it going to jump? She probably won't jump while she's in here because there's not really anything to jump to or from. Once she's in the full enclosure and we've got all these sort of twigs and stuff like that, she will jump from branch to branch. But in here, there's really nowhere for her to jump, so you probably won't see her jump while she's in there. How long do they live? About 2 years, anywhere between 1 to 3 years for most species of jumping spider. And again, she is almost an adult, so she's a few months old now at least. So I'd say it's probably going to be about a year. Okay, let's open the packet. Oh. What are all these? A lot of very small Perspex cubes fell out. I don't think they're actually needed. I think they're just like offcuts. I don't know if you can see that. A load of very, very small plastic cubes just fell out of it. Again, I don't think they're needed for anything, so I'm not going to bother collecting them all up. What we actually need is the panels here. They've got protective sheets on them at the minute, but when we peel those off, they are completely transparent. The tank is going to be transparent on all 4 sides and on the top, so we can see her from every angle. And the way that these tanks are designed, they have a hatch on the front. You can't see very well in the picture, but you'll see once we put it together. Because jumping spiders very much, as you can see here, they like to stay at the top of their enclosure and they like to make their web at the top of the enclosure. This particular tank has a door in the middle that opens so that it's not disturbing any of the webs up at the top. But here we are. There are 3 panels here. These are, I'm guessing, the front and the back and 2 sides. So there you can see how tall the tank is. It's a little bit taller than the enclosure we got her in right now, and a little bit wider as well. So it's not a ton more space, but it's just a little bit bigger. And obviously, it's going to be a lot better ventilated and stuff like that. So it's going to be a lot better for her than keeping her in there. Okay, then we've got, I'm guessing, the top panel with a hole in it there, and the bottom panel, which is just a solid piece. And there's a couple of other little bits here, which I'm not entirely sure what they're for, but I'm sure we'll figure it out. And that piece. And then there's a little bag here with elastic bands and screws in it. Just pop those away, we don't need them. Does the actual box have instructions on it? It does not, so it looks like we're going to be figuring this one out without instructions, but it doesn't look too difficult. I'm hoping we'll be able to put it together no problem. There's also a mesh here. It's quite a big mesh sheet, that. But it's a little fabric sheet with plenty of air holes in it, and that's going to go on the top of the tank so that she gets some decent ventilation. And then we've got this bag, which doesn't pop open like the others do. We're going to actually have to cut into this. There we go. That wee thing's just an outside spider. If you let this thing outside in this country, it'd be dead in like 2 days. This is not a native spider to this country, so, you know, please do not, like, let pet jumping spiders out. I don't think I need to tell you that, but, you know, don't, because they can't survive in this climate. Okay, so these are basically, they look like plastic washers, but they're actually quite thick elastic bands. They're mostly what's going to hold it together. And there are a couple of screws here, but I'm not sure if we actually need them. This enclosure can also be used as a mantis enclosure. And there's like a different top piece to put on, depending on whether you're using it for jumping spiders or mantises. And I think these screws are probably for the mantises, so we might not actually need to use those. And then there's a couple of round pegs here, which I'm assuming are just offcuts. I don't think these are actually going to be used for anything, but we'll put them to one side just in case. What country is that, though? I'm in the UK. Okay, we're done with that bag. So, does the spider grow? She will not grow much bigger than this, no. She's subadult, so she's got about 2 or 3 molts left in her before she's full grown, but she will not get much bigger than she is now. What country is the spider native to? So these are found in the Americas, particularly North and Central America, along the West Coast in particular. I believe that this particular one, well, this one was captive bred, but it comes from Nicaragua. So they're, like I say, they're a North American, Central American species. They're used to quite a warm temperature and a warm climate, which, in fairness, we do have here at the moment in the UK, but in the winter months, obviously, it gets a lot colder. Do I have a love of spiders? Yes, I do. I absolutely adore spiders, especially jumping spiders. I think are incredibly cute. They have huge eyes at the front. They actually have some of the best vision of any arthropod because they have those two huge eyes at the front. They actually have 8 eyes. All jumping spiders have 8 eyes. They have the main pair at the front. They have 2 slightly smaller ones up to the side, just here. And then they have 2 pairs on the top of the head, like that. But the main ones, the big front-facing ones, they are very, very good. They have excellent eyesight. And those eyes, they're like puppy dog eyes. They're really cute, honestly. When you see them up close, and the thing is, people don't really see them up close because they're afraid to. But when you actually do see them up close, they're really cute. They are so cute. How much was it? She cost me £18. Do all spiders have 8 eyes? Not necessarily. Not every species of spider has 8 eyes. Every jumping spider has 8 eyes, but jumping spiders are just one type of spider within the larger family of spiders. How long will she live for? Probably about a year. So they live for 1 to 3 years, and she's already almost fully grown. So I'd say probably about a year. Okay, so we're gonna take the film off the first panel now. If I hold it a bit closer, you might be able to see that there's little cuts there in the side of the panel. Those are holes, so they're going to let air through and ensure that there's good airflow through the tank when it's put together. And I believe, yeah, so only 2 of these panels have those holes. This panel doesn't, so that one must be for the back, and the ones with the holes will be the sides. So I am going to have to move her for just a second because I need a little bit more space on my desk to undo my my panels here. I just need to find a corner to peel from. They don't make this easy. Ah, I've got it. There we go. There we go. Nice and clean and shiny. And then once we do the other side, hopefully this will be crystal clear and you'll be able to see straight through it. What are you doing? I've only just joined. I'm just putting together my enclosure for my new jumping spider. Is this your first pet spider? I had an African bull snare when I was younger. No, I've actually kept jumping spiders before, but it's been over a year since I had my last one, so it is quite fresh. It's like I'm coming back to the hobby after a break. But yeah, I've kept a couple before. This is the first time that I've kept this particular species, but in the past I've kept Phidippus regius, the regal jumping spider, and Hylas diardi, the eyelash spider. Do they escape? No. If if they're in the appropriate enclosure, then there's no way that they can get out. Beautiful. Look at that. Oh god, you can see the stream reflected in there. It's already got bits on it because there's still mealworm dust all over my desk, but that is pretty clear. I can always give it a quick dust once we put it together. But again, you can see there, down each side, we've got the holes for air, and then around the sides here, we've got little holes here. That's how the other panels slot in. The other panels have got little pegs on them like that, and they just slot into each other like that, as you'll see once we get the other panels undone. Let me just try and wipe this with a bit of toilet roll to get some of the dust off. Are they pretty straightforward to look after? Yes. Jumping spiders in general are exceptionally easy pets to look after. There are some species that are a bit more difficult, but if you buy from a reputable seller, they'll always tell you, you know, which species are more suitable for beginners and which ones require more specialist care. But generally speaking, jumping spiders require very, very little maintenance. They don't need a heat lamp. They don't need any like special anything like that. Basically, you build the tank, you put it somewhere where it's going to get a lot of sunlight. Maybe in the winter months, especially in this country, it gets quite cold in the winter, then a heat lamp might be a good idea. But for the most part, literally, just build the tank, put it in the window where it can get plenty of sunlight, feed it 3 times a week, spray its enclosure a couple of times a week, and that's literally it. That's all it takes to keep a jumping spider alive. They are very, very hardy. They're very resilient. It's very easy to get the conditions right for them to survive in. What do they eat? Sorry if I already answered. They can eat all sorts of things. I'm going to be feeding mine mealworms. I've got here a pot of mealworms, and as you can see, they're all wriggling around in there. But they also eat, the recommended food is usually crickets and flies, but mealworms are a bit easier to look after, whereas crickets and flies require their own separate care, which is a bit much. So I prefer to feed mine mealworms. Mealworms, of course, are like the classic food for insects, lizards, you know, anyone who keeps you know, arachnids, insects, lizards, anything like that will normally tell you that mealworms are a pretty standard, pretty widely available, pretty decent food to give to any animal of that size. How much would it cost for the whole thing? So I spent £60 altogether on this. The spider itself obviously was £18, and then the rest of that money was on the mealworms and the kit, which contains the enclosure and the decorations, the substrate, all of that stuff. Speaking of, the substrate is getting quite big now. It's soaked up most of the water. I ate a mealworm once, never again. I don't think I'd like to eat them. They are quite high in protein, though, so, you know, maybe once we've farmed all the cows to extinction, we'll all be eating mealworms. Who knows? What's substrate? Substrate is basically what you put along the bottom of the enclosure. It's a bit like soil. Obviously, you shouldn't put actual soil in there because it can contain bacteria, which can harm the spider. But this substrate that I'm using is cocoa fiber, rehydrated. You can use all kinds of things for substrate. It kind of depends what species of spider. Again, my spider is arboreal. It's a tree-dwelling spider. So we aim to recreate the floor of a forest or woodland area, and that's what the substrate that I've bought is designed to imitate. There's the second panel. Where is the spider? Let me bring her back in. There she is, look. As I say, I would like to keep her in camera for the whole stream, but unfortunately I need the space to be able to do the actual building. So I'm going to keep her out of shot for the time being. Am I building her a home? Yes. So this is, again, If you live in the UK, I cannot recommend enough the Spider Shop. They're based in Wales, just outside Swansea, I believe. They do these pre-built like flat pack kits for spiders, for mantises, for all sorts of other animals, insects and arachnids and whatever else you might want. And again, they don't just sell spiders, they do specialize in spiders, but they also sell mantises, beetles, isopods, all kinds of insects, stick insects, you name it, they've probably got it. This one's a bit trickier to peel, but I've got it. Oh, there we go. What's her name? She doesn't actually have a name just yet. She's only arrived this morning and I haven't had time to think of one. I will take suggestions, provided that they're sensible. But yeah, if you wanna let me know what you think I should call her, then please do. Okay, there we go. So that's the back panel. So then the side panels here will fit like... Oh, that's where the back panels go. There we go. And again, it might look a little bit flimsy, but it actually is quite strong once we've put all the rubber bands on to hold it together. Another one of those there. And then the front panel is going to go on just there, obviously. This to one side. Call it Charlotte. I like that. As in Charlotte's Web, I assume. Okay, I'm going to take this apart for now until we get the other pieces unwrapped, because I feel like it's not going to fully fit together until all the pieces are done. So this here, again, as I mentioned, this kit can be used for jumping spiders or it can be used for mantises. If you're doing mantises, you can use this grid with the large holes. But for jumping spiders, there's a little mesh that goes into this frame here, so that there's no way they can get through it. So that's what we're going to be putting on the top. Or is it this one? It might be this one. Actually, I think it probably is this one because it's got screw holes in. So I'm just realizing now, this little bag of screws is probably going to be to attach the mesh to the roof panel here. So we'll put all those to one side. This is going to be the front. So this is the actual door, and this will go on top, and then this little one underneath. And the door opens like a little flap like that. I don't know if it opens sideways or upwards. We'll have a look in a moment. But that is the door. Here's the bottom. All these crystal clear pieces, again, are already getting covered in mealworm dust, which I apologise for. But I'll give them a nice wipe when we put it all together. Hi Saul, I'm sorry I'm late to the live. No worries, Sneaky, welcome aboard. You haven't missed much. We're just in the process of putting the enclosure together right now. There we go. There's the bottom. Okay, so I just need to figure out how the how the front goes on. Ah, okay. So I figured out the top piece. There's actually two top pieces. This is the main bit, and then this rests on top. And then we sandwich the mesh in between those two pieces. What animal is the cage for? The cage is for this beast. Here she is. There she goes. She's just wandering around at the top at the minute. Oh, she's coming down to the side. Oh, and she's back on top again. As I say, they absolutely love to climb, and they'll spend most of their time at the top of the enclosure, which is why this tank enclosure is specially designed so that the front panel opens like in the middle rather than disturbing the nest at the top. How do you know it's a girl? So you can tell the difference in this particular species. The difference between the male and female is on the abdomen. Males have a solid red abdomen, whereas the females have a black stripe down the middle. And she does have a black stripe, which you'll hopefully be able to see once we get her into the actual enclosure. Lewis, you defo just found her on the wall. If I just found her on the wall, it would be very impressive because this spider isn't native to the UK. Okay, here's the door panel. Saw you sound like Stampy Cat. I hope you know who that is. He's a YouTuber. I've heard it before, don't worry. I have been told before that I sound like Stampy, and I am familiar with him, yes. Oh, I'm on the wrong side there. These are very satisfying to peel off, but it's very awkward to actually get your fingernail under it to start peeling. There we go. So that's the door. It has quite a conspicuous hole there. I think there's probably going to be some kind of handle that attaches to that. Not that she could fit through that anyway, it's way too small. But for a smaller jumping spider, it might be able to get through. So again, hopefully, there might be a handle or something in one of the boxes. Sorry about that. Hello, welcome back. Hopefully the lag problem has been solved. Please do let me know. Is that better? Thank God for that. I'm really sorry that it did lag. I don't know what caused it. And I'm sorry for not believing you. But like I say, people have said stuff like that to me before. Like when I'm on my Minecraft stream, for example, a load of people commented that I can't hear you. When they actually could hear me, they were just trying to wind me up. So I apologise for not believing you that it was lagging. But hopefully it's not now. Okay, so this is one of the two roof pieces, and again, the other piece is just here. There we go. So as you can see, even the top panels are completely clear as well. Here's what we've put together so far. And it's, as I say, you can see now it's pretty solid. You wouldn't think that holding it together with rubber bands would make it very solid, but it actually is surprisingly well put together. But there it is. The front panel is going to go on there. And then we got to get the roof on. And I believe the front panel should... Well, it can't just go on like that, because that leaves a huge gap at the top there. Maybe... Ah, that must be it. Right. Ah, so it opens like this. You pull this up and then tip it forward. There we go. That's pretty cool. It's actually kind of tricky to get it open though, to be brutally honest. Not the best design there for opening. Let me check the picture and make sure that is definitely the right way. Yeah, that is it. That is the right way round according to the picture. Unless... That's a handle. I knew that this piece was going to be used for something. I thought it was just an offcut, but I thought I'll keep hold of it just in case. And I'm pretty sure it's actually a handle for the front of the door. So it's a good job I didn't chuck that. So then we click that into the front, right, and then put a rubber band on it. Oh, she's just fell down. Hello, darling. She's just on the bottom now. She slipped and fell. They do that sometimes. Even the best climbers will occasionally trip and fall, which is why I've padded the bottom there with some toilet roll. And when she's in the actual enclosure, obviously there'll be substrate in the bottom, so if she does fall, she'll have a nice soft landing. Okay, so... There we go. So now it has an actual handle on it, as you can see there. So to open it, you just lift and pull. Pretty convenient. Do they bite? No. They do. Jumping spiders will not bite you. Okay, here's the mesh. Excuse me. And here's the frame that the mesh has got to go in between. I think we might have to cut the mesh to make it fit because it's a little bit bigger than the... well, it's twice the size of the actual frame that it needs to go on, as you can see there. I've only got nail scissors. I hope they'll do it. Got a pair of nail scissors here. We'll see if that works. Hang on, I need to blow my nose. Sorry. I do apologise. I've got a little bit of a sniff coming on again. Am I not scared of it escaping in the night when I'm asleep? No, there's absolutely no chance of it escaping. As long as the tank's put together well and you make sure that you close it, there's absolutely no way that they can get out. Okay, so the nail scissors actually do cut the mesh, which is good. There we go. I'm going to need to wipe my nose again, I'm sorry. Okay. I do apologise. Okay, now we need to cut it this way as well. Just a little bit. we go. So we've now got a nice little square of mesh there that's going to go in between the two frames. There we are. And we need our screws to put it together. Although they're not actually screws, they're Allen key bolts. Got a tiny little Allen key there and some bolts to put it together with. And should the bolts go in through the top or up through the bottom? On the picture it looks like they go in through the top, so that's what I'm going to do. Again, there's no instructions with this, there's just a picture, so I've just got to try and make it look as much like the picture as I can. It's a Razor says, I got a jumping spider too. Good to hear it. What species is your jumping spider? Mine is Phidippus ardens. Okay, there's the mesh in place. We just need to put the bolts on the other side. The nuts, sorry, we've already got the bolts. Hi, says Cody. Hi, Cody. Welcome along. That screw doesn't want to go on for some reason. Are they different sizes? It looks like there might be different sized nuts in here for whatever reason. Yeah, there's two different sized nuts. I don't know why. Do I have any other spiders, says Evan? No. This is, at the minute, the only spider that I've got. I just bought her today. Well, I bought her on Tuesday. She came today. I have kept jumping spiders in the past, but I've been out of it for about a year now, so I'm just sort of getting back into the hobby after a long break. But I would like to get more. I'll just, you know, do it one at a time. I think that shirt's a bit small, lad. This is not a shirt. It's actually a dress. And it does sort of come up over the shoulders when I keep my shoulders hunched like that, if I'm working like I'm doing now. But it's definitely not too small. It's quite a comfortable fit, actually. Okay, so we just tighten these nuts up. Jaden S, whatever your name is, why are your lips blue? My lips are not blue. If you think they're blue, then you're colourblind. This dress is blue. These lips are brown. It's a shame it doesn't have a little spanner in there, because there's a little Allen key, but there's no spanner for the nut on the other side, which is a little bit annoying because I've just got to kind of hold the nut. Please, no inappropriate remarks about nut. Ah, so that's why there's two different sized nuts. Because you put the small one on and then the larger one. Okay, so that is the top panel. The mesh is actually not quite as tight as it should be. You can maybe see a little bit. It sticks up a tiny bit, but it doesn't matter. It's securely fastened in place by those screws, so that's good enough to go on the top of the tank. And I believe, well, I'm not entirely sure. I'm not sure whether it's supposed to go on that way round or that way round. I don't think it actually makes a difference, so I'm just going to go this way with the screws on top and the nuts underneath. And that will just click in to the top here. Although I'm going to actually have to stretch the panels that I've already put on a tiny bit just to get this in. Okay, might have done this a little bit wrong. I'm going to take out this very small strip at the top, just to make the top bit a little bit easier. And then it should go in. There we go. That's all snapped into place now on the top there. Can we see the spider, please? Yes, you can. Let me just pop her down again. There she is. She's almost ready to go in. Just a few more rubber bands to put on. Let me move her back up again. Some of these bands are a little bit tricky to actually snap on. But once they're on there, they will hold very firm. Have I... Hold on a second. I may have put this panel in the wrong way. Because it's very slightly longer in one direction than it is in the other. And I might have put it the wrong way round because it feels like it's not quite fitting together as it should. So let me just pop some of these rubber bands back off. Has the spider got a name? Not just yet, no. I'm still thinking of names. If you want to make suggestions, then please do. Oh, I've just lost the door panel now. Okay, so yeah, it's definitely slightly longer in one direction than it is in the other, which I think is why it didn't quite fit together right there. Is that a tarantula? Because I've held tarantulas before. No, it's not a tarantula. It's just a little jumping spider. Here she is. Definitely not a tarantula. Okay, that fits together a lot better, so we've definitely got it right there. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we definitely had it the wrong way around before, but that is absolutely right. Will she grow? Not very much. She is a sub-adult, so she has a few more molts in her before she gets to full size, but she won't be much bigger than she is right now. These rubber bands be frustrating me. Yeah, they're kind of frustrating me as well, to be honest. I mean, I like the idea because it means that I can very easily take the tank down as well if I ever need to for whatever reason. Rather than it being a solid piece, I can easily flatten it. But it is quite fiddly to put together. Easy, like in terms of there not being many steps to it, but tricky in terms of the actual doing it. When are you next live for Minecraft? My next Minecraft stream is going to be on Monday. Where's the spider? Here she is. Take it all in. Oh, this is the last rubber band and it won't go on. There we go. Okay. I believe that is it. I haven't missed any rubber bands. There's the cage. As you can see, there's mesh on the top. It's clear on all sides with some ventilation on the sides there. And there's the front. We'll just put the door panel back in. If we can. There we go. And it just closes up like that. Need to blow my nose again. Oh, I do apologise. There we go. So, that is the actual enclosure done. And if we look at the substrate block there, you can see it's soaked up most of the water now, so that should be the perfect consistency to get into the enclosure. I'm going to give it a little bit of a dust, just with some toilet roll before we do anything else, because it has got a bit dusty from all the mealworm dust that's on my desk. And inside as well. There we go. Okay, so I think I am going to have to get my hands in the substrate here, which is it's a little bit gross, but it's got to be done. Because it's time to... Sorry. It's time to put the substrate into the tank. There we go. Oh, okay. It's not quite soaked all the way through there. We just got to break it up a little bit more. Very, very muddy. But as you can see, I'm breaking it down into smaller chunks. Stinks, but it won't do once it's dried out a bit. Really got to get my hands in there to crunch it all up. this jug's going to need a wash. There we go. So I'm just going to quickly go and rinse my hands. But you can see in there, that's all nicely mushed up now. So I'll be back in a sec. There we go, that'll do for now. So I'm probably going to put a tiny bit more water in there and just leave it to soak a little bit more, because there's a few lumps in there that are still quite dry. So like I say, I'll add a little bit more water. We'll give it another 10 minutes or so to soak, and then I'm sorry about the thumbs up thing. It does it. I'm not intentionally doing it. But yeah, I'm going to put a little bit more water in there and give it a few more minutes to soak up, and then we'll get that into the enclosure. So I'll be back in a sec. I'm so sorry. Hello, third time lucky. Let's see if we can actually manage to not lag this time. I do apologise. I think it's probably just my internet playing up a little bit today. But we'll see how we go this time. Where am I from? I'm from Yorkshire in the United Kingdom. Oh, she's on top now. She's looking at me again. Harry says, what's your go-to pint? I'm actually more of a cider drinker than a beer drinker. My go-to pint would probably be Thatcher's Haze. I love a nice Thatcher's. But yeah, I'm not massively into beer. If we were doing beer, I like a nice Asahi. Call her Luna. There's been a few suggestions of Luna. I quite like it. It's definitely one to think about. There she is. Look, off she goes again. Oh, she slipped a little bit there. I don't know if you can see that. She fell down a little bit, but she managed to grab onto a web that she'd made earlier and get herself back up. She's falling a lot. I've noticed she's fallen quite a few times. I don't know if she might be a bit disoriented because she's been in transit for the last 18 hours, you know. But she has fallen quite a lot in the last couple of hours. I've cushioned the bottom with some toilet roll just so that she doesn't hurt herself if she does fall. But yeah, like I say, I think it might just be because she's been in a car for 18 hours. She might be a little bit stressed out, and that might be making her a little bit clumsier than usual. What's the average lifespan of one of these? So these guys can live for between 1 to 3 years. She is almost at adulthood, so she won't. She'll have about a year left, probably. Joel says she can't breathe. Yes, she can. There are air holes that I've punctured, especially in the top of the container there, you can see. So she has got plenty of air to breathe. She'll have even more air once we get her into the proper enclosure. But don't worry, she's not suffocating or anything like that. I missed the beginning. What is she, New or Old World? She's from the Americas, so I guess that's New World, technically speaking. Yeah, Central and North America is where this species is mostly found. And this particular one originates from Nicaragua, I believe. That's what it says on the tube anyway, Nicaragua. So But also this one's apparently captive bred, so I don't know if that means that the one that birthed her was from Nicaragua. I don't know. But this one, yeah, this one was born in captivity. What is she? So this is a Phidippus ardens, or P. ardens. It's very similar to the Phidippus johnsoni, which is one of the most common jumping spiders in North America. Has a very similar visually. It has the red abdomen, and the females have a black stripe across the abdomen, which she does, which is how we know that it's a female. She's looking at me again. But yeah, this is, like I say, Phidippus ardens. Jumping spider, didn't realise, thought it was a sling. Yeah, I'm not planning on keeping any bigger spiders anytime soon. Maybe one day. I'd like to sort of build my way up and work my way towards larger spiders, but for now, this is probably large enough for me. Does she bite? Absolutely not. Jumping spiders and, spiders in general are very, very reluctant to bite. They'll only do so as a last resort. Kind of like how a bee will only sting you if it can't fly away, right? If it feels threatened and it doesn't have any other options. So yeah, the likelihood of this thing biting you is extremely low. Snakes for me, appreciate spiders, but just not for me. Jumpers are pretty cute though. I agree, jumping spiders are incredibly cute. I think snakes are quite interesting as well. I'm not quite as fascinated with snakes as I am with spiders, but snakes are pretty cool. Okay, the substrate now is looking pretty good. When you put her in the enclosure, very soon, hopefully, the substrate is just about ready. You can see it does have a little bit too much moisture in there, so I'm probably going to have to take this to the bathroom and just squeeze some of the moisture out of it just to get it just right. Obviously, it doesn't need to be too dry, but not too wet either, so we'll just drain a little bit of the water out of that, and then we'll get that put into the enclosure. And just to remind you again, here is the enclosure itself. We'll just move you out of the way for a minute, darling. Here's the actual enclosure. It opens up just here at the front like that, and then obviously there's a little bit of a ledge. There's a little bit of a basin at the bottom to hold the substrate, and there's also a bit of a lip at the top to give her space to move, to make her webs, so that they won't be disturbed by me opening and shutting the door. And of course, plenty of ventilation here on the sides. How are you feeling? Asks Rods and Moo. I'm feeling good. As you can probably hear, I've got a terrible case of the sniffles today, for which I do apologise. But apart from that, I'm feeling pretty good. I just get like this at this time of year. You know how it is when it gets to summer. But on the whole, I'm feeling pretty well. Am I keeping her? Yes, I am. I just got her today. She's my brand new Phidippus ardens jumping spider. I'm very, very excited to have her. It's the first time I've had a jumping spider in over a year. Over a year ago was when I had my last jumping spider, a Hylas diardi, the eyelash spider. So yeah, I'm very excited to be getting back into the hobby and to be experiencing a new species, because I haven't had this particular species before. Where is she from? So P. ardens originates in Central and North America. It's particularly found towards the west coast of America, and it is one of the most common jumping spiders in North America. You may see her. Here she is. I'm going to have to leave you with her for just a minute again whilst I go and drain some of the moisture out of this substrate. But once I get back, we will finally be putting her into her enclosure. So, again, I'm just going to leave her there for you to observe, and she'll keep you company whilst I just go and pour some of the liquid out of this substrate, and then it will be ready to go in the enclosure. I'll be back. Okay, here we are. Sorry about that. I'm back. We've drained all the moisture out of the substrate, so it's absolutely ready to go. We'll just move our spider here to the side for a moment. And then we will grab some of our substrate here and start putting it in to the enclosure. Again, this is going to be quite a messy job. My hands are going to get a bit dirty, so I'll have to go and rinse them afterwards. But here we go. Grab a nice big handful and just stick it in there, and you can see inside it's kind of hidden a little bit by the chap, but you can see that I'm starting to put the substrate into the enclosure there. It is going to make a mess of my desk, so I'm definitely going to have to clean things up a little bit afterwards. Lovely. Just squeezing a bit more moisture out whilst I'm at it. Again, we don't want there to be too much moisture in there, but we also don't want it to be too dry. And if you can hear that liquid running, that's me squeezing the moisture out of what's left. I think that's pretty much all we're going to get out of there. Pop that to one side. I've absolutely got filthy hands again, so I'm going to have to go back to the bathroom and rinse it out. And then we'll pop her in there. Why can't it have moisture in it? It can have moisture. It is supposed to be moisture. When I first started at the beginning of the stream, it was a solid, dry, dehydrated block. We had to put water in it to give it sort of the the consistency of soil. So that's how it should be. It should feel like soil when you touch it. It should have that sort of texture. So it shouldn't be too wet, but it also shouldn't be too dry. Here's the spider again. I'm going to leave you with her whilst I go and wash my hand. And then very soon we will actually be getting her into the enclosure. So back in a tick. Okay, here I am. Just move her out of the way just for a second. I just need to clean up some of the dirt that's now on my desk. I'm going to have to go and give the bathroom sink a good rinse out later as well, because it's now full of soil. And then I'm just going to give a quick wipe of the glass, the bits that got splashed. But you can see in there now, if I just lift up a tiny bit, you can see we've got a nice amount of substrate. Just need to flatten it down. I probably should have done this before I went to wash my hands, because now I'm going to have to wash them again after I've done this. But we just get in there and knead it down. Not too compact. It needs to be, you know, quite light and fluffy. There's another quite hard bit in there, which is unfortunate. We'll just crunch that down. But yeah, it shouldn't be too compact. Again, it should be just like soil from your garden. Kind of soft, not too wet, not too dry, not too compact. There we go. So as you can see there, that's a nice flat even coverage of the tank now. So, one more time, I'm going to have to go and wash my hands again. But that actually is the last time that I'm going to have to wash them today, hopefully. So, back in a tick again. I'll give you her to keep you company, and I'll be back. Okay, I'm back again. So, we have our tank with the substrate. We are almost ready to go. The only thing we need to do now is put our decorations in there. So, as I showed earlier, we got a couple of little sort of twigs and things like that, little bits of wood. We got this spiral thing for some reason, but it'll go in there. And this little twig there. And we got 2 of these fake plants. And we've got the water dish. Not the water dish, sorry, the food dish. Don't put water in that dish, please. You will drown your spider. Use that for food only. And the little hide that attaches to the top with magnets. We might put that in as well. So, let's have a look at how we can put these in a way that looks nice and neat. You can see my reflection there, for which I apologise. Okay, so again, I'm thinking I might put the bowl actually in the substrate at the bottom rather than on a ledge. So if we just sort of burrow that into the soil a tiny bit there. There we go. So that's going to be where we put the mealworms when it comes to feeding time. And then the rest of it is pretty much just these twigs. So we'll have one there going to that corner. We'll have this nice thick one standing just there. Maybe bury it in a bit so it doesn't fall over. Or maybe lean it so that it doesn't fall over. There we go. Can't fall over if it's already leaning. The big spiral one, let's have that there, like so. It's very weird. I don't know if I'm a big fan of the spiral, but we'll put it there anyway. Or maybe it's quite long as well, so it doesn't fit very well in the enclosure. We'll try that. And then finally we got just a little straight twig there. Which I'll put across there. There we are. Smooth it down a little. Okay. N says, gonna overwhelm it. Absolutely not. These guys need as much stimulation as possible. You need to give them plenty of space to explore. This is a specially designed spider kit that contains everything you need to get your jumping spider set up. So obviously there is definitely not too much in there. This is, you know, this is the perfect amount of stuff for it to climb on. Remember that the spider itself is very, very small, so it needs plenty of space to explore. These kinds of spiders are climbers. They live in trees, so they need stuff to be able to climb on. And as you can see there, there's going to be plenty of twigs and sticks and plenty of places for it to climb. And we also have the leaves to put in as well. We'll put one near the top, just there. And then I think we'll put the other one a bit lower on this side. There we go. If we turn him round just a sec. I think that looks like a pretty decent amount of stuff for her to climb on and to play on. And the door closes all right, so we know that that's not going to be a problem. Last but not least, there is the hide, but again, I'm not sure if I actually want to put the hide in, because I don't know if she's actually going to use it. But we can put it up and we can see if she'll go into it. In fact, this is going to be quite tricky to get in there once it's built, so I don't actually know if I can put the little web thing in there, the little nest. Oh, I've just dropped it now. There we go. So I don't know if you can see that very well, but the little nest is in there now. We're just going to slide it to the position that I want it, which I think is going to be somewhere towards the back. Oh. Oh no, it's going to break the top mesh. Okay, hang on. There we go. Okay, a little bit tricky, but we got there in the end. Oh, and I've just dropped it again. Okay, I don't think it's worth the hassle, to be quite honest, to put the little net thing in there. I think she'll probably manage without it. They will make their own webs entirely from scratch, so I think she'll probably be okay without us putting that in there. But yeah, as I say, I think that the enclosure is pretty much ready now. You can see she's going to have plenty of surfaces to climb on. We've got the little food bowl down there in the middle. Plenty of leaves, plenty of twigs. Should be quite a stimulating environment for her. Which means it's time. It is time to put her in a new enclosure. So we'll get her out here. Now this is the tricky bit, because she might not particularly want to go, but once she's in there, she will obviously be a lot happier than in here with none of the stimulation, nothing to climb on and anything like that. But she might not be happy with the actual transfer itself. So we'll see how it goes. The mesh seems good. I'm just checking that I didn't accidentally break it. Is it a baby spider? No, this is a full-grown spider. This is a jumping spider. It's, well, not quite full-grown, actually. It's sub-adult, so it has a few more molts before adulthood. Connor says it's not really an enclosure, is it? Well, it says enclosure on the kit that it came in, so yes, it definitely is an enclosure. And yeah, it's time to put her in. We're ready to let her go in there. So let's open it up. And we'll very carefully pop the lid off of this. She's now exposed to open air. We'll just tilt the enclosure this way and see if she goes in. I'll try and get her to go onto this leaf here. But I don't want to coax her too much. She's already quite stressed out from, you know, getting here in the truck, in that tiny little tube. So we don't want to pressure her too much. We'll just let her go when she's ready. She's looking, she's observing it. You can't really see very well on the stream, but she's looking straight into the enclosure. She's just thinking about it, deciding whether she wants to go. Oh, and she's decided she doesn't want to go because she's gone back up the other way. Come on, darling. Why are you assuming the spider's gender? Have you asked it? Spiders have no concept of gender. The spider's sex is female. She's really not wanting to come out, which is a shame. Like I say, I don't want to try and force her out because she will already be quite stressed from getting here. But if she really won't go, then we might have to get in there with a pair of tweezers and just give her a tiny little poke to encourage her to go in the direction that we need her to go. Yeah, it definitely looks like she's not intent on getting out of there anytime soon. Oh, she's going. She's going. She's going. Oh, she's on the outside. Come on, darling. She's in. There we go. She's in the enclosure there. You can see her at the top. She's made it. We did it. Okay, so as you can see, she's in there right now. She's in a brand new enclosure. And she'll probably just stay there in that corner for a little bit until she feels comfortable to explore. But once she gets started, she'll be all over the place. She will really get around. Like I say, they love to explore. They love to climb. As soon as she, you know, starts to feel a little bit more comfortable, she'll be running about all over the place. Everyone's commenting the door. I don't know why. The door is shut. That's the door there. There is no gap. If you're talking about this isn't a gap. This is actually an overlap. It's the opposite of a gap. There's no gaps at all. If there was a tiny gap, maybe I didn't shut it properly, but there's no gap there now. Don't worry, I can tell. But yeah, she's in there. She's in place, as you can see. And as I've said a couple of times already, sorry to keep repeating myself, but she'll stay there. She might not move around much for an hour or so until she feels comfortable, but she will start exploring, and eventually she'll be all over the place. She'll run around, she'll make webs in the top in particular. She'll eat down at the food bowl, down there in the middle, you can see the food bowl. And to give her drink, all we do is give this bottle a couple of sprays every few days. Put a bit of water in there, you open the tank up, not right now because she's right next to the door, but we open the tank up, spray a little bit of water on the inside, and that's what she will drink. How often will you change the soil? Probably every couple of months. Some people reckon that maybe like every 2 or 3 months. Some people say that you can leave it for 6 months. I think I'll probably say about 3 months will be a good amount. The thing is that you don't really need to change it all that often, because when you spray the enclosure, that also helps to keep the humidity off, and you know, some of that will run down and keep the substrate nice and moist. So yeah, the substrate doesn't need to be changed too often, maybe 2 or 3 times or 3 or 4 times a year. What's it called? We don't have a name for her yet. Like I say, I'm still thinking of a name. We've had a few suggestions. I think the best suggestions have been Charlotte and Luna. So I think I might go for one of those names. I'm kind of leaning more towards Luna, to be honest. But we'll see. We'll see. Maybe when she gets a bit bigger and her colours really start to come through, you know, maybe something red related, some kind of red sort of name, Scarlet or something like that. We'll see. But I'm going to switch my camera now to the front camera to show you her up close a little bit more, because you haven't really had a proper chance to look at her yet. But now that she's in there, we can take a closer look. There she is, and you can see the red on her there from this angle. You can see it's quite dull, but definitely red. There she is at the back there. Let's turn the tank around a little bit. There she is. Oh, sorry, the camera's gone out of focus. There she is. Oh, that's good. You can actually see her quite clearly there. Oh, she's moving. Oh, she's coming. She's coming this way. Oh, look at the eyes. Look at those big eyes. So cute. Oh, she's fast. She's really getting about now. So what she'll do, as you can see her doing there, is she'll run round and round the top of the tank, and that's actually making a web. So she'll start by like going round the edges and leaving a web along every corner. And then she'll, you know, when she's decided where to build her main web, she'll start building from that. But that's what she'll do for now. Like I say, she'll run around the top there, and then she'll start heading down and exploring towards the bottom. And yeah, there she is. Am I going to do updates so we can see how she settles in? Absolutely, yeah. So obviously, she is going to be staying here in my bedroom, so I'm going to be able to keep a constant eye on her. And I will, you know, in my usual streams, which I also do in my bedroom, I'll be happy to, you know, give you an update every now and then and show you how she's doing. Where's she gone now? She's just at the top near the mesh. I don't know if you can see her. There she is, look. What is the species of the spider? This is a Phidippus ardens. Oh, she just fell. She's down on the bottom now. I don't know if you can see. There she is. Just in the food bowl. She's looking at me. But we're going to see her climb now. Look, there she goes. Ready? Oh, she might jump. Is she going to jump? Nope, not yet. When you change the substrate, will you have to destroy webs? No. So the good thing about jumping spiders is that they build webs at the top of their enclosures. Again, they're not a terrestrial species, they're arboreal, so they live in trees. So she'll make her web around the top here, and the substrate's all down at the bottom, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem. There will be some problems, obviously. All these twigs here, I'll have to take those out to change the substrate, and that will disturb some of the webs at the top. But hopefully it won't, you know, it shouldn't do too much damage. And again, you know, in the wild, they're used to this happening. Every now and then, you know, you get a particularly big breeze, or, you know, a tree falls down or whatever. They're used to their habitats being damaged. They'll just start building again if anything happens. So yeah, if the web ever does get damaged when I'm changing the substrate or anything like that, it won't really bother them that much. She'll just carry on. I'm sorry for the thumbs up again. I'm trying to avoid doing it. Oh, she's right at the back here now. Looks like she's going to go onto the ceiling again. When will I feed her? So it's actually not recommended to feed them as soon as they arrive. You might think, you know, oh, you've just had a long journey, I'll give you something to eat. But actually, you shouldn't feed them straight away. Most places will feed them just before they send them. Like the spider shop, for example, they fed her yesterday before she got sent off. So she has been freshly fed. And they'll also be quite stressed out after being on a long car journey like that. So even if I put something in there, she probably would be too stressed to eat it at the moment. It's best to give it a couple of days. I'll either try and feed her on Sunday or maybe Monday. But yeah, if I put something in there right now, chances are she probably would just ignore it because she's a little bit too stressed to be eating at the moment. What does she eat? When she does eat, she will be eating mealworms. We got a box full of live mealworms there. You can see them crawling around in there. And the mealworms themselves, they do technically need to eat as well, but they just eat like waste food. If you put like an apple core in there, for example, or a little bit of fruit or veg, the mealworms will eat that, and then the spider obviously eats the mealworms. And she needs to eat 3 times a week or 2 times a week, depending. You feed her either every 2 or 3 days. Where's the spider? She's in her enclosure. She's just up on the top of this spiral thing there at the moment, as you can see. Have I named her? Not yet, but I think I'm going to either name her Luna or Charlotte. Those were the 2 most popular suggestions. Can I hold her? So it's not a good idea to hold her just yet. Once again, she's quite stressed out because she's just been on that long car journey. So it is recommended to not handle your spiders straight away. She's in a brand new enclosure. She has no idea where she is. You know, she needs a little bit of time to settle in, to feel a bit more comfortable with her surroundings. And then after a few days or maybe a week or so, then she'll be comfortable enough to be handled. So I won't be handling her today. No, she's a little bit too stressed out for that at the moment. When she's calmed down a bit, when she's settled into a new enclosure, then I'll handle her. What does she look like? Can we see her? Yeah, so I'll try and show you her again. There she is. She seems to like... She's looking directly at me right now, by the way. Hello. Hello. I'll try and show you before she looks away. Oh, she's literally just turned around. You really can't see her very well from this angle. There she is. She's looking. Oh, she's wiping her eyes. And you can see her scratching herself there. Literally just like a dog. She's using her back legs to scratch her abdomen. And she's rubbing her legs together there because they're a bit itchy. There you go. Look, you see the front leg now. She's just wiping it off, just giving it a rub with her other legs. Like I say, they do behave a lot like dogs, surprisingly. For some reason, the TikTok thinks that this is me doing a thumbs up. Oh, there she is. Look, she's looking again. Luna would be such a cute name for her. Yeah, I think I'm definitely favouring Luna at the minute. I think that's the name I'm going to go for. I think it suits her. It's a really cool name. She's really itchy. Look, she's really going at it, giving herself a good scratch. And again, you can't really see from here, but she does definitely have the red markings on the sides of her abdomen. which denotes that she's a female because the males have a solid red abdomen, whereas females have a black stripe across the back. Does she have some green on her? She's adorable. Yeah, so you can see at the very front, she's got these very small little things in front of her mouth. They're called chelicerae. Those in this species are like a nice teal, sort of iridescent teal green colour. They're really cool. The camera doesn't really pick up the colour all that well, but if you look closely, you can just about see the colour of the chelicerae there. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you where she's actually staying. I've got a place already marked out for the tank to go. So I'll show you that, and then we'll take her over there to her permanent home. So, sorry. I do apologise. Again, I've got a bit of a sniffle today. I apologise for that. So yeah, I'm going to show you where she's going to be going, and then we're going to actually move the enclosure over there. So if I just flip my camera over there, right next to my unicycle, we've got a cabinet which has just enough space on top for a spider enclosure. I'll just take you over there now. So this is where she's going to live. It's next to a window, so she's going to get plenty of light. It's got there is another window here, which I'm going to keep open, but the clothes here in the wardrobe are going to act as like a natural barrier to stop any breeze from getting to the tank, because we don't want it to get too cold or drafty in there. So this is the perfect location. She's going to get a nice amount of light, a nice amount of heat, and when I go to bed on a night and I shut the curtains, I can shut the curtains in front of the tank so that she still gets some sunlight behind the tank, which means that she'll always be getting the perfect amount of natural light. Jumping spiders, of course, are diurnal, like humans. That means that they're awake in the day and they go to sleep at night. So just like us, when it gets dark outside, she'll go into like low power mode and have a little bit of a rest. Technically, spiders don't sleep in the sense that we think of sleep, but they do slow down at night to recharge their batteries a bit. So again, by putting her in the window, it ensures that she gets the exact right amount of natural sunlight. In the daytime, she'll be up and active, and then when the sun goes down at night, she'll calm down and take a bit of a rest. Did I find it outside, asks Mason. No, I did not. I bought her especially from the spider shop over in Wales. You will not find this kind of spider outside in this country. It's native to the Americas. So you definitely won't find one outside in the UK. There she is again, and I'll try and get you a nice close-up shot of her once we've got her in place. I don't think she's going to move from there. She's found a spot. She's clinging onto that spot. She's definitely going to stay in that exact spot until she feels comfortable enough to move around. But I'm going to take the tank now over to the cabinet that it's going to stay on top of, and then I will show you, I'll try and get a few close-up shots of her to finish off with. Okay, so how am I going to do this? I'm going to leave my phone here and take the tank, and then I'm going to come back for my phone. Won't be a sec. Okay, so she's in place now. We'll just head over there. And here she is over here next to the window, as I say. If I just switch my camera again. Perfect fit. She gets the perfect amount of light, the perfect amount of heat. And hopefully she's really going to enjoy herself in there. You can see her up there now. Still in the same corner. The light's not very great from this angle, for which I do apologise, but we'll try and get a better one. There she is. Oh, and you can really see the red on her back now. On the abdomen, you can see the red stripe. A little bit duller than it would normally be in this species, but again, there's always a little bit of variation. She's a little bit darker than most P. ardens would be, but nonetheless, you can see the markings quite clearly. I'll try and get a side shot. There we go. Okay. I'm going to stay... I might as well stay over here just in case you want to see her again before we end the stream. So I'll just stay here for what time we have left. James Wilkinson III. What species of jumping spider live in the UK? So there are a couple of species of jumping spider here in the UK. The most common is the zebra jumping spider. You've probably seen it before. Particularly in the south of England, it's very common, but also can be found in the north. It's sort of black and white, hence its name of the zebra jumping spider. They're quite small. They're nowhere near as big as she is. They're about half that size. But yeah, they're sort of a black and white striped spider. They're really cool. They're the most common jumping spider in the UK. There are a couple of other ones as well. There's like really, really tiny brown ones. Which I forget the name of. I actually found one in my room yesterday, one of those jumping spiders. Like I say, very, very, very tiny. You can instantly recognize a jumping spider because of the shape of its face. It has those two big eyes, a flat head. They're instantly recognizable, you know, and they are one of the most common types of spider in the UK as well. But yeah, zebra spiders, especially in the south of the UK, but also in other parts, and they're common throughout Europe as well. Whereas this guy, this little lady here, she is native to the Americas, mostly Central and North America. And again, I do apologise. You can't really see her very well from this angle because of the lighting outside. But I'll try and get you a good shot. There she is. Oop. Trying to find somewhere that I can keep the camera steady so you can really see her. There you go. Oh, I'm not a fan of spiders, but she is adorable. I think so too. I think jumping spiders are absolutely adorable. I mean, I'm a big fan of spiders in general, as I say. But jumping spiders are definitely... They're the ones that most people can get on board with. I feel like a lot of people say... I've heard a lot of people say, I don't like spiders, but I like jumping spiders. And I think you can see why when you look at them. They are very cute, especially compared to most spiders. They're really fascinating animals to keep. They make really great pets. They're super low maintenance. You literally just feed them and water them 3 times a week, like every 2 or 3 days. Really, really easy to look after. They don't really need any special conditions. As you can see, that's literally just a tank with some substrate and some twigs in it. And that's literally it. And she'll survive in there for a year, which is great. Can I see it? You can see it again. Yeah, I'll try and show you her again. There she is. She's not moving from this spot. She's very much staying in that spot. I think that's where she's comfortable. That's her safe space at the moment. But she will explore as she gets more comfortable. She'll have a look around the rest of the enclosure. I think most likely that's where she's going to make her web, though. So they will try to make their web in one particular corner, and as you can see, this corner and this corner have both got twigs leading up to them. So this is probably the best place for her to make a permanent web. So I wouldn't be surprised if in a couple of weeks' time this is where she's setting up her permanent residence, as it were. Oh, there you go again. You can very clearly see the markings there. She's rubbing again. She's rubbing her legs, look. Very tricky to get a good camera angle. Especially because she's by the window now, so there's quite a lot of sunlight coming in, which makes it hard to get a clear shot. I do apologise. How do you know it's a she? So female P. ardens, as you can see here, they have a black stripe across the back. So you can see the abdomen has red on it there on the sides, but there's a thick black stripe down the middle, which lets us know that it's female. If I shut this curtain, it might make it a little bit easier to see. Oh, but now it's too dark. Oh, you can't... No, that doesn't really make it any easier, does it? I will definitely be making videos about her for the channel as well, though. So if you can't see her very well on this live stream, there will be more. Oh, that's quite good. You can see her quite clearly there. Do you want more spiders later, says Danique. Yes, definitely, very much so. Oh, there, she's looking at us. She's looking right at us, look. Oh, look at those eyes. But yeah, I'd very much like to keep more jumping spiders in the future. Like I say, this isn't the first time I've kept a jumping spider. It has been over a year, but I have kept them before. What do I feed her? So she's going to be eating mealworms. Usually it's recommended to feed jumpers small crickets and flies. But mealworms are also perfectly acceptable, and mealworms themselves are a lot easier to keep. So I personally favour mealworms. Oh, she's looking away now. Oh, she's looking out of the window. Oh, she's rubbing her legs again, look. She's very itchy, this one. Can you hold her in your hands in general? Yeah, these, so jumping spiders are very easy to handle. Right now, it's not such a good idea because she's in a brand new enclosure. She's in a brand new place. She's a little bit stressed out. She doesn't know where to, she doesn't feel completely comfortable. So it's not a good idea to handle her straight away. Same with any pet, really. It's best to give her a week or so to settle into a new enclosure before you try to handle her. Because if I try to handle her right now, she'd just be a little bit too skittish. She'd just try to jump away. She'd be quite panicked. It's much better to wait until she's more comfortable with her surroundings and a little bit calmer. Well, it doesn't look like she's going to be doing much at the moment. Like I say, she's probably just going to stay there for a bit until she's ready to wander a bit. So there's not really much point in us keeping the camera on her. I'm going to go back over to my desk now. It's nearly 6 o'clock anyway, so it's going to be time to wrap the stream up very soon. I just need to wipe my nose again, sorry. I'll go back up to the top desk now. There we go. But yeah, that's pretty much it. We've got a little bit of crap to put away because there was quite a few bits that we didn't need. This piece, for example, is for if you want to use the enclosure for mantises instead of jumping spiders. But obviously I'm not, so we don't need that. Spare rubber bands. I will keep hold of those just in case any of the rubber bands break. Obviously they're not likely to right now, but when when moving the enclosure about a bit, it might happen. So there's some spare rubber bands there. These are all spare bits of plastic. They're no good. I am going to keep the little nest egg thing, but I'm not going to put it in the enclosure just yet. I'm going to keep that somewhere safe. And I think I'll keep the dish, the suction cup that holds the water dish, just in case we ever need to put it up. It's probably not going to go up because I'm quite happy to have the dish at ground level. But if need be, we can hang the dish on the side of the enclosure with this. Do you own any spiders? Asks Zara. Yes, I do own spiders. I've just been unboxing my new spider today. We've just got her into a new enclosure. And in just a moment, I will go and show you her again just before we end the stream. Just ripping the plastic off of that. So yeah, again, this is for attaching the food dish to the side of the tank if we need to do that. But I think she'll be alright with the food dish at ground level for the time being. This is all rubbish. But yeah, once again, I do have to recommend, if you're interested in getting into jumping spiders and you're not sure where to start, the Spider Shop, based in Wales, they do a jumping spiders starter kit. It contains everything you need to get set up. It's got the enclosure, the substrate, and you can even get bundles that contain the spider itself as well. So it gives you absolutely everything you need to start looking after jumping spiders. So yeah, highly recommend the Spider Shop in Wales if you want to get started in this hobby. Just pop that in there. And of course we got the spray bottle as well, which we'll fill with water, and we can use that to put some moisture into the enclosure every now and then. With feeding and watering for jumping spiders, they only need to eat 2 or 3 times a week. So it's best to set up a schedule, you know, like I'll feed her on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays or something like that. But whenever you do feed them, you know, just pop a mealworm in there, in the food dish, not in the substrate because it will burrow. And when it comes to watering time, you just spray some water on the inside of the tank. That will keep the humidity up inside the enclosure, and it'll also give them something to drink because they'll actually drink the water droplets off the side of the tank. A weird question, but do they actually jump? Yes, they do. Technically, all spiders are capable of jumping. They're just not very good at it. Jumping spiders are so called because they are good at it. They can jump quite a long way. Some of them can jump, you know, 10, 15 times their body length. So the one that I've got, Phidippus ardens, can probably jump about that far, which is a pretty significant distance to jump for such a tiny arachnid. Do I have any other pets? I don't personally, no. I've had other pets in the past, but at the moment it's just the jumping spider. I think it's nice to have a pet that's such low maintenance. Again, they are incredibly low maintenance. There's very, very little attention that you really need to give them. As long as you know, pop a bit of food in there a couple of times a week and spray a little bit of water in there a couple of times a week, they'll pretty much do their own thing and be perfectly happy. Okay, so the stream is nearly over. There's another 10 minutes or so to go, so I will go back over there and show you the spider again in just a second. And as I've already mentioned, I think I'm probably going to call her Luna. We got quite a few nice suggestions today of what I should name her. Luna stood out to me in particular. I think that's a great name. I think it suits her. So that's probably what she's going to be called. Charlotte was a good suggestion as well, but I don't know. I think I just prefer Luna. So that's probably what she's going to be called. I'll finish tidying up my desk later because you don't want to sit here and watch me tidying. We got a little bit of spare mesh there as well, in case we need to cut a fresh piece. Okay, so let's go over and see her one more time. How long do they live for? So jumping spiders, most species live for between 1 to 3 years. She is a sub-adult, which means she's not quite fully grown. She's got a couple of molts left before she's an adult. So I'd say probably about a year or so, maybe 18 months if we're lucky. Okay, let's go over and see her one more time before we wrap things up. There she is. She's still in the same spot. She hasn't moved since earlier. And she's still scratching herself. She must be... She's very itchy for some reason. That could be a stress response as well, to be honest. In fact, I think that probably is why she's scratching herself so much at the minute. Again, she will be quite stressed out. She's just been in a tiny little container in the back of a post van for 12 hours. So obviously, she's not quite at her most comfortable. Again, that's probably why she's scratching, just as a stress response. But when she gets more comfortable, she'll stop doing that and she'll start exploring her enclosure a bit more. As you can see, she's got plenty of space there. We got a nice big enclosure. We got the food dish down there at the bottom. Plenty of twigs and branches to climb on. The door handles just fell off, so now I can't open it. But there's the handle for opening the door, as you can see. We'll just have a quick look in there. There she is up at the top. There we go, shut her in. Yeah, this handle... Oh, I forgot. There's supposed to be a rubber band on this handle so that it doesn't fall off. Right, that would explain a lot. So I'm going to have to get one of those spare rubber bands out just to attach that to the door handle there. It looks great, Saul, says Stace. Thanks very much, Stace. What is it? Asks Joe. This is Jumping Spider. This is a Phidippus ardens, also known as the Widow Jumping Spider. As you can see, it's got a sort of pattern on its back, which is quite reminiscent of a certain other spider, which it isn't actually related to. But you can see there, she's got a red abdomen with a thick black stripe across the back. Do I have any other spiders? Asks Sam. At the minute, no. I'd love to get more. It's one of those hobbies where, you know, once you've got one, you wanna get more. And very much, you know, they take up very little space. They're very easy to look after. So it's quite common for people who keep spiders to keep like 50 of them. I don't think I'll go that overboard, but I'd quite like to get a few more, yeah. And I'd like to get different species as well. At the moment, I've only ever kept 3 species. I've kept Phidippus regius, the regal jumping spider, and Hylas diardi, the eyelash jumping spider, and now Phidippus ardens, the widow jumping spider. But there are hundreds of different species of jumping spider, and I'd love to, you know, try and keep a few different species. Do I have a link to where we can buy one, please? Yeah, if you want to check out the Spider Shop, it's literally just called that. thespidershop.co.uk is the website. They're based in Swansea in Wales. They specialise mostly in tarantulas, but they do sell other spiders and other animals as well. They sell mantises, stick insects, millipedes, isopods, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, they specialise in tarantulas and jumping spiders. They don't always have the same spiders in stock because obviously they have to breed fresh ones. So, you know, they might not necessarily have the spider that I've got in stock forever, but they're always, you know, there's always new stock coming in. So definitely check them out. And if you see anything on there that you like, then feel free to buy it. It's a great hobby. I highly recommend. If you have a fear of spiders, that like I used to have, a jumping spider is a great way to address that. It definitely makes you feel more comfortable. And I think definitely the reason that I'm less afraid of spiders now than I was a few years ago is because I've kept jumping spiders and I've gotten to see them up close and personal and to get more comfortable with them through exposure. So it's a really great thing to do. It's a great hobby to have. They're really fascinating creatures, and they're just really fun. Do they have a walk-in shop? I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. If they did, obviously it would be over in Swansea, so you might have to have a look into that. Obviously, I haven't been if they have one because I live at the other side of the country. But yeah, it might be worth looking. Maybe they do have some kind of walk-in shop. But as far as I know, they are mostly online. And they do deliver anywhere in the mainland of the UK and possibly to Ireland. You know, it kind of depends how far away it is. But anywhere on mainland UK, they will deliver to. So I'm just going to go and put this rubber band on the tank in the place that we forgot to put one, on the back of the door handle. Oh, actually, there's already a rubber band in there. It fell off. That explains a lot. So we're just open it up and get that out. Sorry to disturb you, darling. I have to put my camera down a second while I put this rubber band on. Oh. There we go. Now the handle won't keep falling off. The only thing you got to remember is if you pull the handle too hard, that rubber band might fling off, and then the handle will fall off, which obviously isn't ideal. But that should stay pretty sturdy there. And now we can open and close the enclosure without issue. Where's the spider? She's over here at the back. Again, still chilling in the exact same spot. She's really not ready to start exploring just yet. Probably because I'm stood over her talking quite loudly. But once the stream's over, I'll leave her alone for a bit and leave her to sort of settle in. And she'll definitely get more comfortable. She likes the spiral. She certainly does. I thought the spiral looked a bit weird when I got it out of the box, but clearly she is enjoying it. I wonder if she'll do any climbing up the inside, maybe, and maybe make a web inside it. That'd be quite cool to see. But yeah, she's definitely a big fan of the spiral. Can I hold the spider? Not right now, unfortunately. You know, it's not a good idea to handle her because she's only just arrived. She's in a new enclosure. She's very stressed out. That's the reason that she keeps scratching herself and the reason that she's staying in that one spot. She's not quite ready to be handled yet. They do recommend that you keep her in here for about a week or so. Same goes with all kinds of pets. You know, different pets have different adjustment periods. But, you know, most of the time, you know, it's not recommended to handle a pet as soon as it's been put into a new enclosure, right? We need to give her about a week to settle in, and then she'll be ready to be handled. She'll be ready to come out, and I'll be able to hold her. But at the minute, no. She's got to have a bit of time to acclimate. So yeah, so I won't be holding her today, unfortunately. Once she's had a few days, up to a week to settle in, then very much yes. And obviously, I will be doing updates about her. Don't worry about that. I'll be making a video on my TikTok, hopefully next week, to introduce her for people who haven't been here to see the live stream. And I'll be making various other videos and updates about her as well. And I'll obviously try and show her off on live streams as much as possible too. So if you want to see more of her, don't worry. She's not just going to sit there in the corner and be forgotten about. She's going to be talked about. She's going to be, you know, she's going to be my co-host here on TikTok Live. She's going to be the star of the show. She's my new roommate, so of course I'm going to feature her heavily whenever I can. Okay, we're coming up on 6 o'clock, and as you know, I end my streams at 6 o'clock. We have been going for almost 3 hours, so I am going to have to bring things to a close now. Hopefully, you have enjoyed today's live stream. It's been a lot of fun. I enjoyed unboxing the kit and putting it all together. Hopefully, this might have encouraged you to think about getting a jumping spider of your own. I highly recommend, again, they're cheap. They're very low maintenance, they're very friendly and sociable, they're really, really cool pets to have. So I absolutely recommend anyone who wants to get into this kind of hobby, start with a jumping spider. Even if you don't like spiders, even if you're scared of them, they're really great pets to have and they can actually help with that fear. They're really cute, they're really intelligent, they're really curious, and they're just all round great, easy pets to have. So yeah, get a jumping spider. That's my advice. But yeah, thank you all for joining. As usual, there's a couple of things that I have to say just before we round out the stream. If you have enjoyed, then please feel free to follow me and see some of the other content that I make on the channel. I make a lot of content about my hobbies. So for example, I will be making videos about my jumping spider very soon. I also make videos about my other hobbies. You know, I'm into Lego, I collect coins, I have a model railway, all kinds of different things that I will be talking about if you want to see that. And obviously, I am transgender and I do make a lot of videos talking about trans related topics as well. So if you're interested in that side of things, then please feel free to follow me for that as well. But yeah, that's going to be it for today's stream. Thank you all for joining. I've had a really great time. I hope you have as well. There's not going to be any video tomorrow, as mentioned before. I'm not doing any videos this week, but my next video will be out probably on Tuesday. I'll be streaming again on Monday, obviously, Minecraft Monday. So that will be my next live stream. And in the meantime, I do have to, of course, say that you can follow me on Patreon if you want to give me a little bit of financial support. For $5 a month with a week's free trial, you can support me in the content that I make here on TikTok, and in exchange you'll get exclusive behind the scenes access. So that's all. Thank you all for joining me today. I will see you on Monday for the next live stream, and I'll see you on Tuesday for the next video. So thank you again so much for joining me. It's been a great time. Thank you for allowing me to introduce you to my new roommate, Luna. She's great. I'm really looking forward to living with her, and hopefully she settles in all right. And I will keep you updated on her progress. Okay, that's all from me. I'm gonna go because we've been going 3 hours. My voice is starting to strain as usual. So goodbye all. Thank you for joining, and I will see you in the next video and or live stream. Bye bye.